So let us all begin. Um, Hello, namaste, and a very warm welcome to all of you. And at the outset, let me take this opportunity and wish everyone a very happy International Literacy Day. And what a wonderful day! And I don't think you can find a better day to talk about something like this, and where the new things are coming in the Indian education system, the planning of a bright future is coming forth, and what we at Life also are here to put onto this particular webinar. And let's move on to understanding why we are going to be coming here. Before that, I am Ms. Ruhi Thakkar. I'm the co-founder and the head of academics for Learning Integration for Education Private Limited. And I'm also your host for the evening. And I'm honored to introduce you to our esteemed judge, our esteemed panel speakers. Here we are, and we have Dr. Swati Popat Vats, who is the president of ECA APA. A very little bit about her. She is the founder and president of the Early Childhood Association of India, that is the ECA. She's the president and of the Early Childhood Association, Primary Education and Research, the president at Podar Education Network. She's also the founder and director for Podar Jumbo Kids, national representative of the World Forum Foundation, and the nursery director for Little Wonders in UAE. She's a teacher, a curriculum developer, an author, but most importantly, a childhood activist. She is an educator who stands for child rights and developmentally appropriately practices for children. Her philosophy for education has helped her create curriculums for many preschools in India and in UAE, and she has authored more than 25 books for children, parents, and for teachers. We are also joined by P.S. Nagalakshmi. She is an epic, to tell you the truth. Okay, we are really happy that she has joined us over here. She's the headmistress for KV Picket. She's a resource person for the principals and HMs and teachers and mentors, various projects taken up by KVS. But most importantly, she has also been a pivotal joint with the FLN, being the FLN coordinator for KVs across India. And also she was the speaker when Nipun Bharat was launched on the 6th of July in India. And we are really honored for you to be here. She has also written, she's another one who's written books on moral values and a book on short stories. Our next speaker is Dr. Bhavanishankar Subramanian, and he's the head of school for Lalaji Memorial Omega International Chennai. And he has been a pivotal mind for around 19 years of integrating policies of various in areas of climatic studies, water and energy conservation, biodiversity, and human resource sustainability throughout the UNI and UNESCO. He has been as an associate with them. Also, currently, he's working in the K-12 space, where he aims to build quality curriculum and frameworks. I heartily welcome each and every one of you. Today's discussion will be focused on NEP 2020 and the Nipun Bharat mission, a vision that was thrown light upon on the 6th of July 2021, that aims to focus on enabling a focused educational environment and ensuring an acquisition that has a universal acceptance for foundational literacy and numeracy, so that children nationwide can achieve, you can say, desired learning competencies through block-based structure that is a knowledge-specific structure and gives a basic understanding of writing, reading, and speaking skills till the end of grade 3 for every child throughout the nation. And with an aim to the fact that by the end of, I think, 2027, if we aim to, all of these goals are to be achieved successfully. Listening to all this, yes, it sounds like a plethora of work. We know India as a nation is a big nation. Reaching so many children is a big task. Yes, true. But I think we all can make it possible if all as educators come together, and all of these possibilities for each of the aspects in both the policies, which is NEP 2020 and the Nipun Bharat, that have brought together, is going to be our point of discussion today's evening. So without further ado, I once again welcome all of our speakers, Dr. Swati Popat Vats, PS Nagalakshmi, and Dr. Bhavanishankar Subramanian. Welcome.
Thank you.
So,
thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. I know that we all have been there has been a lot of talk about both of these policies. I'm sure you all have talked on other forums as well. We have heard you all, and but there has been a research. There has been a talk with so many other people that we went to. We as an organization also spoke to so many others. The fact remains that the spread as much as the knowledge about these two policies must be, it hasn't happened. We need to have a stronger forum where we can spread it to every nook and corner of India. So to begin with, my first question of discussion, I would like to give it to Nagalakshmi ma'am to understand the dire need and the urgency to launch these programs. Holding a very short interval, we realize it was very just within a year's time. They have given us an insight, and they have actually come in a very quick manner. So, what was the dire need and I would like you to throw some light on the conceptualization of these policies as well.
Thank you, Ruhi, and good afternoon to Dr. Bhavanishankar and Dr. Swati and rest of the participants here. Warm welcome to all of you. And Ruhi, your question, there is absolutely a need to revisit various policies and programs launched by the government. The education landscape as it is very dynamic, ever changing. All of us have witnessed in the recent past the shift that has taken place, with COVID-19. And the shift has been towards online schooling, homeschooling, and our approaches needed a change. Our attitudes, and our beliefs, however strong they are, like, sticking on to our chalk and talk method, or, face-to-face, only face-to-face interactions, these kind of, strict rules and beliefs have been done away with, and we need to change, transform early. We did adapt and we did transform ourselves. Now, when we speak of NEP 2020 and its extension document, I would call it as a baby of NEP 2020, Nipun Bharat document. It's vast and it's extensive, but it has been taken up, launched as the national mission.
Yes.
So it carries a lot of weight. But then there were various other documents earlier too. So a question arises, so what's new? What's new in this? All right. So we had NEP 1986. We had the revised document in 1992. And then we had NCF 2005. Which was all very concrete. And didn't they work? They did work. They did wonders. But then, as I said, the landscape is changing and we too need to change. And we need to reflect and revise. And that was the need for us to go into this Nipun Bharat extensive document of Nipun Bharat. And NEP 2020 certainly has something new, and it has sweeping changes brought about. For instance, restructuring of 10+2 model into 5+3+3 model is the first, very obvious change that they have brought about. And then the emphasis on foundational literacy and numeracy is the second takeaway that we have from that document. And then the overhauling of the curriculum, is another major take there. And reducing the syllabus, retaining the essential or core elements. And a thrust on competency-based learning, experiential learning, and critical thinking. That's what has been emphasized in this document. And then there are also strategies which are administrative, milestones, and responsibilities fixed on individual schools as well as on states. Education is a concurrent one. All of you are aware. It's a concurrent subject. Both center and state can make laws on it. They have to work collaboratively and make this mission a successful one, Ruhi.
I totally agree to many of the aspects there, but one thing that has come to my notice as you were speaking is that you're saying it's just a baby. I mean, it's we have just like, I think it is like this is the tip of the iceberg, if we may say so. There, the iceberg is pretty big down there. There is a lot to achieve. We totally agree to that because India as a nation itself is very big. We are already struggling with a lot of areas when it comes to competency building in children, and it has been a talk, a whisper, somewhere or the other everybody is talking. Maybe the niche society is talking about it a little more than the maybe 95% of India who really struggles with this entire idea. So what is the reality check on this? I mean, what could be the reality check as to reaching all of those? Because I know you've been working with them. You are the one who has really worked with that entire team to bring this together. And there is a question. The document was a necessity, but how far and how do they plan to reach this throughout the nation? What is the next step for that?
Yeah, this is one question. The reality check part of it is something that puts off all educators, This is something that we won't like to be asked because it's like, stirring a honest nest, right? So
Yeah.
it's so glaring. There's a learning crisis all around, especially in India. Okay, so nobody wants to actually address this, right openly. So that one, we certainly don't like to do it because 70% of the children in class 3 do not have the basic literacy and numeracy skills. That's the reality. And of course, here we are talking about all schools. We are not just limiting ourselves to the urban schools or the elite schools. We're talking about the rural schools too. And class 3 child is unable to read even a text of class 2 or even 1. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's very pathetic. The situation is very pathetic. Hence, what do we need to do? We need to ensure equitable access to the school, and demand for education should not be lowered at any point of time. If the education system is becoming sick, it means the nation is becoming sick. Maybe this is a statement that's quite scary, but it is reality. You asked about what is real, and I'm telling you it is real. Okay, let me not sound as a pessimist or trying to project a very dark picture, but this is what is happening, and this is the picture, and that is the need of this document and the change in the philosophy and the whole setup. Okay, and so what do we do now? So first and foremost, when you're talking about the rural schools also, where the dropout rate is very high, pretty high, and now all the more because of online teaching, we do not know how long this is going to stay. So ease the children back to school. Ease the children back to school is a priority, and make learning an enjoyable process through readiness programs. Okay, we did have readiness programs earlier too, but then frankly speaking, when I observe a class 1 child, coming to the school over last few years, the scene hasn't changed much. They still cling on to their mother's saris and are very reluctant to enter into the classroom. So they would have had a bitter experience in the pre-schooling, isn't it? Then where is learning without burden? Where is learning with joy? Where has all those policies gone? Okay, so the child is still scared about everything. So mainly we need to restructure what the children are learning and how they are learning.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think that is quite a light on that. But I do have a question which is going to come later on in this conversation, because something very interesting that you said has come to my mind, and I think I'm going to question this later on. Let me move on to Dr. Vats. Hello and welcome once again, ma'am. So it's lovely seeing you after a very long time, really. So I would like to question you about because you've always been in this area. You've been a pivotal person in this area. I've seen you do that. I've followed you do that. So foundational numeracy and literacy with the pre-primary section, and in relationship to NEP or the Nipun Bharat section, it has its targets that have been set, like goals that have been set. So if you could just put on some light on the goal behind it and what the FLN structure truly stands for, the foundational literacy and numeracy.
So, namaskar to all the listeners who are participating today, and my big namaskar to Nagalakshmi ji and Bhavanishankar ji. Pleasure to share this panel with you. It's very important for us to understand that this NEP is a landmark policy. It is going to bring about and has visioned a lot of changes, which we will all have to work together to bring about. Many documents will now come from the NCRT about how to implement the NEP. And two of the documents that have already come out, one is Sarthak. Sarthak talks about the responsibility of every stakeholder, right from state governments to communities to individual schools, and which department will do what and in what timeline. So a very good documented way ahead has been set by the document Sarthak. And then came about Nipun. Nipun is basically one of the mission of national education policy, which is foundational literacy and numeracy. Our goal has been very clearly defined in the NEP that we want to achieve literacy and numeracy for all by a certain time period. And of course, one of the landmark decisions or inclusions in the national education policy this time was that education starts at age 3, which means the early years have now officially come as part of the national education policy. I say officially because there was always a lot of dichotomy as to early years comes under which department. Does it come under the education department? Does it come under only the women and child welfare department? So this dichotomy has now been solved and put to rest by the national education policy. Now starts our mission of Nipun, which is foundational literacy and numeracy. Now, when we are implementing this foundational literacy and numeracy, we have to keep in mind one of the other factors mentioned in the national policy, which is mother tongue, which is family language. So we must keep in mind that when we are implementing literacy, we are not forcing English as a language when it is not required. Because it is also very important for everybody to understand that the brain develops. If you see, there is a quote in the national education policy that 85% of the cumulative brain development happens in the first 6 years. Now, this is very important for all teachers and educators to keep in mind, that the brain is what is going to be geared for learning. And we need to create, when Nagalakshmi ji was talking about learning without burden, what is this burden? What is this stress? It is this stress of a foreign language that we push onto children in their growing years, in the years when they are learning to speak, when they are learning to communicate. And that is a very important aspect that we must keep in mind when we are implementing this policy, whether we are an English medium school or a non-English medium school. We must understand that we have to first make the child feel comfortable enough to communicate in a language that the child is most used to. And that is always the family language. Because if the child gets stressed out about having to learn another language without being comfortable in the child's first language, stress starts from there. And that is why preschoolers are always more and more stressed, because we try to teach them learning in a foreign language. Please understand, we as a country have never realized the pressure that we are putting on early years. We are trying to teach them how to read, how to write, how to count in a foreign language. So it is very, very important that one of the first takeaways every school must take from the national education policy is make children comfortable in their communication. And for that, make them comfortable in their family language. Once they are comfortable listening to you, hearing you, talking to you, then you can teach them other languages. As Maria Montessori says, children in the first 6 years can pick up from 6 to 7 languages together. So it is
Yes.
not that they cannot learn new languages. It is just that you need to make their communication experience of the first language so good that they want to now learn and communicate in other languages. So it is very, very important for us to understand that when we talk about Nipun, I feel, is the first ever document that is created to equip the teacher. If you notice in our teacher training programs, first of all, there is no set teacher training program in this country for early years teachers. Like you have a B.Ed. A B.Ed is valid all across India. Similarly, you do not have an early childhood program which is valid or has that much of importance as a B.Ed pan-India.
Yeah,
And
yes.
so the teachers that come to teach the Anganwadi children or the teachers that come to teach in private schools are not equipped with the right skills or have an understanding of literacy and numeracy. So if you look at Nipun talks about how, where, when, and what. So it's a very clear guideline to the teacher about how literacy needs to be approached, why it has to be approached in a particular manner, and it equips the teacher right from assessment to techniques and the theory of understanding how children learn. So I think if you view Nipun in that way, you would realize that it is a very comprehensive document and it's a very, very welcome document because it's going to ensure that a pre-primary teacher anywhere in this country is following the same developmentally appropriate methodology for teaching young children their literacy and numeracy skills.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Vats. I think that was a very, very good insight to us, and you broke it down really made it a little more easier to go through the document, or maybe you could just pinpoint a particular page and you understand why this particular aspect is important and how they have actually narrated it into the entire document, because the document is really vast. It's very difficult to engulf it completely at one time or to take it in. But my question to just take this a little bit more forward, like you spoke about the home language, that is something which is very interesting. The home language, but we have so many states. It's like sometimes they say even our dialect changes like every 500 kilometers. So India as a state, India as a country, sorry, is it is so difficult for the teachers or the entire education system to fathom this fact as to how to balance this structure, because in the end India adopted the entire English way of learning and teaching in further and higher grades. Most of us, I mean, I think very few states have books which are printed or are translated into their particular languages which are in higher grades, or maybe a particular stream that a child goes into. So how are they going to cover that? Because it's going to be very difficult as to training a teacher on that particular aspect, or understanding the fact that maybe you begin with your language and then keep on translating it in the classroom. Is it going to be something like that? Is that how the structure will work as a skill development for the teacher?
So I feel as Indians, we should take our multiple languages as our strength and not our weakness.
Yeah.
I think we have to stop doing that, because we always take our numbers, that we are a large population, and we say that's our weakness. That's not our weakness, that's our strength. And our multiple languages are also our strength. Let me give you an example. When a 3-year-old child comes to school, the child only understands its own family language, right?
True,
But
agree.
1 month after being in the class, this child is playing with 8 other children who also don't understand this child's language. How does the child do that? How does a 3-year-old child start making friends with other children without knowing their language? So always my instruction or my guidance to teachers is, if a 3-year-old child can do it, you can do it. Because communication is not just about language. Communication is also non-verbal at that age. So don't keep language as your barrier. There are simple words that these children use at that age to communicate their needs, whether it is water, or I want to go to the bathroom, or I'm missing mummy. Find out these words in the child's mother tongue. And if you will be able to speak these words to the child, this itself will make the child feel very settled. This itself will make the child bond with you. And I don't think that's difficult, because I stay in Mumbai, and I know in my school's classrooms, there are about
Totally.
8 languages together. You know, there's a Punjabi child, there's a Bengali child, there's a Gujarati child, there's a Marathi child. So there are so many children together. So what we make our teachers do is, we make them make a list of all these children, which language are they, and the common sentences that children will need to use. Now the teacher writes it down in that language, so that she is able to understand when the child communicates a particular need, etc. So we will all have to work towards that. And why did the NEP stress on family language? Simply because at that age, language is your most important way of communication. If I'm going to talk in one language and you are going to not tell me, I don't understand you, you better speak in English, then you are going to stress me out. I am going to feel unwanted. And when I feel that stress, I won't be able to concentrate or focus on anything that you are trying to teach me. So it is very, very important for us to understand and teach teachers to make language our strength and not our weakness.
I'm so glad I asked you this question. I am feeling really good about this, and I think it's a very good way to put this forward. Don't make language as your barrier. Being Indians, you should be proud of whatever language that you speak. If you speak 4 languages, be more proud about it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and I totally agree to what you say about Mumbai. I've also trained myself right here, and we tend to do that. Yeah, we have all kinds of children in the classroom, so we start speaking their languages because they can understand it. Because you begin with those little ones, and I can totally, relate to that. That is something you reminded me of. So thank you so much. My next question, I will move on forward to Dr. Bhavanishankar. Hello, sir. Welcome once again. And taking this particular discussion forward, since we've spoken about how Nipun Bharat and NEP has come in, what are the ideologies behind it, FLN coming in, what are the structures and targets behind it. Social skills. Now, after all of these things, since ma'am has already come to the place where, we're talking about, the home structure, the home language, now comes in the social skills being a part of it, because we need to make this a holistic development for children. What do you think about how will holistic development set in, and
See,
how NEP has put a light on it?
so it's been wonderful listening to Lakshmi and Dr. Vats. So thank you so much, because it also connects several strings.
Yes.
The first line Dr. Vats said about communication, and the language is essentially now a social component. I mean, I don't speak for myself. I don't speak to myself. I relate to the person next to me. And in the process of educating the children, say, although we overvalue the cognitive dimensions and the scholastic achievements as we grow up the education landscape or the ladder, so we need to understand that there are several other aspects of the dimensions of development, such as the social dimension, the physical dimension, the emotional dimension, or the moral ethical dimensions. What do we do in order to make the experiences wholesome for the child is what I would ask myself as an educator. So Dr. Watts touched Montessori education. Dr. Watts talked about nonverbal communication. So Lakshmi talked about the diversity and the dynamism that needs to be mapped into the education. So first is that as an educator, how do I train myself to understand what the child needs? Is it all right that the adult perception and the adult directed information is what leads the entire development of curriculum and what the child needs to learn? Or should I look into the child to understand what she actually needs at a particular time. So when we look at the early childhood years, I would say that I would love to look at her to understand how she is guiding me in order that she picks up experiences that are available. I would go ahead and understand from the other panelists and also all the educationists here. So would it be right for us to drive the adult determined space of what the child needs, or to look at the child to make the child experience his or her surroundings and from there pick up the strings? So when Maria Montessori put it, so she was talking about the various sensorial experiences that would offer the cues for us to learn from the child, in order that the pedagogical aspects of learning now are moving to more towards the andragogical aspects, or more towards the heutagogical aspects, where the learner determines his space and the teachers try and understand what are the things that would make it possible for the child to learn, so that the child picks up from the engagements. The fundamental principles of NEP so already talk about making a thorough understanding of the individuality that exists in the child, making a multidisciplinary approach, keeping the language and the subject barriers so little or more integrating and overlapping, to see that the child has experiences through the community, build equations for life skills, ethics, and citizenship. We are already talking about the social aspects of development. I have not seen a better desired document than NEP. NEP 2020 is a desired document. So it desires for all of us. We are very definitely a part and parcel of this wonderful country, and NEP cries out to all of us to make sure that we make the difference in this. How do I make the experiences wholesome? How do I integrate the community into this equation? How do I build social connects? I am a little concerned and worried now, because the online education has disinvested from the social and the emotional needs of the child. The child does not go to school to pick up mathematics and English. I would say the child goes to the school to understand, to build relationships, to understand failures and successes, to start facing disappointments, pick up fights and making up. So to go through those emotions from others' experiences, we are consciously making a shift which will slowly but steadily kill the social experiences of the child if we continue to stay online. I would go ahead and say, guys, come into the school environment. What I would want to do more and more in this equation to make it wholesome is to offer the families that kind of, let us say, educational tools, train them to engage with the children more and more, make an effort to form family clusters and communities in their neighborhood to optimize the social engagements of the children, even if they do not come to school at this point in time. So these would be my take on building the social needs of the child.
Yeah, so a very good point over the fact that, as communities or as families, we need to understand and start these, we have to come back, basically. We need to come back so that the social skills are in place. There are two sides of this whole coin as well. Yes, we are struggling with a particular virus, which is, all set to really destroy a lot of things. It already has its own destructions that are happening. But yes, we love our children, so we are trying to protect them as much as possible. So it's going slow. But yes, I do agree to the fact that the children need to go back to school, and that the children don't learn just subjects at school. It's not about learning subjects. It's all about your social understanding. But like we were talking about every niche and corner of our nation, we have different kinds of families and backgrounds that our children come from. There is also a dire need where I think Nipun Bharat, if we actually read the document, they've also expressed something about the health and hygiene structure and how teachers should teach about that, because I think from here is where the skills begin. They start understanding what how a child should groom themselves, all of these aspects are also starting to become a part of their teaching learning structure, which is really really important, especially in communities where this is really low. So what is your take on that? How should this special understanding and importance be really embedded into the structure, and how we can move forward with that? Because I think this is going to
See,
be an important.
what I would look at is that, see, the stakeholders here are going to be the ones that receive this learning. So in order that the children learn better to understand and manage the aspects of health and hygiene, say, how do I do it? So do I let the parent lead this learning cycle, or would I want to do it through the teachers? The question now is how misinformed I am. So the load on me is to remove the misinformation that is available. And I would say the first aspect of making this a meaningful exercise is to ensure that we integrate the components of health and the fitness or the wellness education into the teacher's learning. The teacher needs to be the custodian of this particular aspect of learning, and through the entire transaction that is happening with the child needs to pick up the strings from the teacher. I would first put my energy and invest on training the teachers on the aspects of health and hygiene. How I would do it guys, please offload the baggage that you have. So you might have
True.
loads of information. See, some of it is very relevant and research. Some of this is not. Please offload that baggage. We need to unlearn the misinformation bias that we already have. I would say we need to filter, sieve information and make sure that the curated information that is available with us is transfer ready to the teachers, and we need to train the teachers on aspects of health and hygiene. I'm sorry, there are still teachers who feel that vaccination for COVID
Yes.
is actually a big challenge. They're scared to go ahead and take on this vaccination. There could be personal reasons, there could be religious reasons, or there could be a fear driven by misinformation from the media.
Yeah,
So,
that is another aspect out there. Yeah, I totally agree to that. I
so
wouldn't. I'm sorry to cut you
having
out.
said that, I
Yeah.
would also add on, Ruhi, is that there are
Yeah.
several aspects that the teachers are unwilling to talk about. So this is something that
Hmm.
bothers me. And as the children grow up the physical ladder of development, we know that there are aspects on, say, sexual or reproductive health, or about substance or
Yeah.
drug abuse, or a whole lot of things, or say, let us say, highly volatile behavior, which is a damage inducing. So whether the teachers would talk about it. Now the question is to
Or not.
educate the teachers first in order to make this possible. So and that
I
is the
think
line
that
of
can
thought.
that can be a point of discussion in an entire session, sir. That is an amazing point of discussion. We should take it up. I shall note it down. And I think I move on back to Dr. Watts. Since we have no, I think no, I will be taking Ms. Nagalakshmi right now. What is the role and transformation of teachers to adapt to this new policy? What do you think is going to be the bandwidth, or what is going to be standing behind as a pillar to them? So that's my question to you.
Okay, thank you, Ruhi. And let me first of all, endorse what Dr. Vats said and Dr. Bhavani said about multilingualism approach. And there are apprehensions there out there in the chat box regarding, okay, should I learn multiple languages, 10 languages? How do I learn? Okay, and all that questions are arising. Okay, it doesn't mean that one teacher has to master all these languages, right? So the question is, when the child is immersed in an environment rich, like a language environment, surely they will pick it up. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, there are non-verbal cues, as Dr. Vats said, and so it's easy for the child to pick up. It's an environment, language input, okay, that is required, and no matter, okay, whatever the language is, in a matter of probably 3 months, 4 months, the child will be quite adept at using L2. That's the instructional language, what we are calling it. And I completely endorse what Bhavanishankar was talking about. Please come back to schools. That's something that really, I am also worried right now, because we have started the offline classes, and they're highly reluctant. The parents are highly reluctant to come for various reasons, whatever it is, but they're missing out on other skills, okay, which cannot be developed through online courses. Okay, however beautifully drafted, okay, they cannot be developed. Emotional skills, there'll be conflicts arising between the students, how to resolve those conflicts. They will do it by themselves. They will not even approach in certain instances to the teacher to resolve their issues. They're all right. So having spoken of that, I will come back to your question about the role of the teachers, right? As you said, you also use the same sentence. Teachers are the pillars on which the entire, Nipun Bharat stands now. They need to understand, okay, the importance of their role, and then they need to understand children, as Bhavani said, in social, cultural, and political context. In everything, all round, holistic way, they need to understand the child. They need to be on the same page as the child. Yes, all right. They need to understand. And before that, I would say that they need to understand the way child learns. It should be more of a child-inspired learning than a teacher-inspired learning. The teacher should not direct. Okay, so I want you to learn this, and hence I would go about or draw you from your experiences, and I will draw you to my life. No, the teacher has to go to the child, okay, understand the way she prefers learning and how she learns to learn and what she wants to learn. That's what is called as a child-inspired learning, right? So that needs to be understood clearly by the teachers. And then they also need to search, okay, various avenues, how they're going to implement this. Okay, as Dr. Vats said, it is an extremely comprehensive document. Okay, it's a very good roadmap to everybody, both academic and administrative side. So there's nothing left there for the teachers, to search for, right? They need to search for various avenues, implement all these and revive all these art integrated learning, then puppet integrated learning, toy integrated learning. Of course, obviously, no ICT to now there's no other go. They have to use ICT. They are using it for past 1.5 years. And games, okay, how they can bring in games into their classrooms, both indoor games and outdoor games, and how to integrate that, and then making teaching a joyful process. And most importantly, ownership, okay, and responsibility. That role the teacher has to take up, Ruhi. That's absolutely important, that the teachers play this major role. This is what I think about
ownership. On the thought of ownership, don't you think it is also the onus of it just came to my mind just now when you said it's the onus even of the communities around you, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Bhavanishankar also did mention about, yes,
it's all around us. I mean, it has to be like a cumulative aspect where parents come together. I think, I think you can give me a better idea around
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
communities come together.
Absolutely. There's a very beautiful statement in Nipun Bharat. It takes a village to raise a child. Okay,
Which to
that's
make
the
us
caption
raise a
given
child.
to a picture, right? It is not, the onus is not just on the teacher alone or the school.
Yes.
Okay, the schools have to open their doors. They have to
Hmm.
open their doors to the community. Okay, they have to reach out to the volunteers. Okay, make small groups of people who can come in, okay, and help with the school structure, whether it is administrative or academic functioning. And they also have to have partnership with neighboring schools. That is also another important area that we have to work. At least KVs are doing that much. I know that. I think many of the schools are also following up. The KVs are doing, the states. We are in fact even going to the states or even the private schools, partnering with them, and then exchanging our ideas and opening our doors to our programs. Okay, and it's not only that. Okay, it's not just about communities and then bringing bringing neighboring schools into the picture. It also involves parental, okay, support. Okay, we have to take them on board. Parents, they are the major stakeholders, and we need to be, okay, there in tandem. So we have to absolutely open our doors and be very open, candid about what is happening. Give feedback, right feedback to the parents, okay, and help them in behavioral changes in the children. Help them in monitoring their own children. Guidance to the parents. And this positive strokes that we give to the parents stands a long way in being successful in this entire program. Ruhi?
Yes. Yeah, ma'am, I totally agree to what you're saying, but I think, it's a question that's coming to me, as a person or as a teacher. If I'm in school, ma'am, I think this question goes out to all three of you, whoever can, throw some light on it. They are more than welcome. I mean, ma'am is talking about, KVs doing it. I have seen private schools also doing it. They try to collaborate with communities around them when they want to show something, or they want an outreach which is outside the campus of the school. But how far do you think the nation is going to come together where communities start holding your hand? Because many a times there has been a lot of difficulty getting these communities to agree to something like that. I think everybody has experienced this. At least I have. Many a times when we used to go as as heads, or we used to go for a request, it used to be very difficult because communities would be very reluctant to let children in for certain aspects, and it wasn't even areas where they would be getting hurt or there was any kind of danger. Even then there was a lot of skepticality as to having any kind of joint venture with schools at any point. So
Yeah, I
is
would.
there anybody who can throw some light on this?
See, I would not agree to this at all, Ruhi, because I think all of us together make the country. So, say we
Yeah.
might be in small pockets, but the efforts. Say, if it is adult directed, if I go and reach out for help, maybe I might not get it. So, what
Yeah.
I would just quickly share a small anecdotal experience that we had. So, we wanted the children to experience saving money. And from a small community that was struggling to find livelihood, we asked them, community of potters, we asked them to make these earthen pots of hundis. So they made something like 3,000, 4,000 hundis. And these hundis were given to class 1 to class 3 children. So you wouldn't believe, in less than 1 year, they had collected in excess of 4.5 lakhs of money. Because if a child goes and asks this for a parent, he just drops 1 rupee there, 5 rupees there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's what.
so
Yeah.
at the end of 1 year, we broke those undis and went to the same community which had given this to us, and took up a school development program. And the entire aspect of this planning, execution was done by student leaders. We only handheld these children. So year after year, we have started this. The Rotary is there. There are multiple bodies coming forward to make investment into the community. So I would just say that the UNESCO has something called an associate,
Yes.
schools project network called ASPNet. You can
Hmm.
connect UNESCO to see what kind of community projects could be taken up. The United Nations Academic Impact. So there's a program called Aspire, see action by students to inspire. I'm just.
You're missing the word.
Yeah, so reforms in education. So
No.
promotion and reforms in.
Thank you for
So these are
throwing
things,
it.
yeah. So these are things
Yeah.
that I would say that is very, very possible, and it is actually happening.
So then that is the solution, because see, sir, like you have an idea around it, or you have thrown that light on it. There are many schools who do not know about it. Like we are talking about a structure where, when I began this session, I did tell you that, even though it has been opened up pan India, there has been a lot of talk about NEP and all about Nipun Bharat. There have been so many principals, so many teachers. I'm not saying in the niche community, but not in the elite schools that we talk about. But other schools, they really do not know about it. They do not have an idea around what happens, how things are supposed. Some of them haven't even heard this word. They just know that it has come up. They just know that it is there, but they haven't bothered downloading or reading through the entire process, because one, like Dr. Vats said, it is such a vast, description. It is amazingly made. It is well descriptive. It has every aspect which has been covered with every kind of explanation that is there. But Nagalakshmi ma'am, as you've been a pivotal person, in that particular section as well, do you think there is a requirement to simplify this vast, elaborate policy for teacher comprehension? Because
No,
everybody's come.
I wouldn't say that this document requires any simplification. Okay, it is very clear, and it is a very nice document. Only thing is the teachers can be reoriented, right? In-house programs can be conducted by the respective schools or organizations,
Yeah.
where there will be a light
Yes.
on it. But having said that, see, no number of workshops or programs are going to reform a person or change a person if they are already having a mindset. See, what needs to be done is understand the curriculum framework right now as proposed in Nipun Bharat. Okay, that understanding needs to be done by the teachers, and go to the class with absolute preparedness, right? They need to have in place the learning cycle of the child, understand the child psychology, and then understand what is learning all about, right? See, without any purpose, they enter the class without any purpose and just simply ask, okay, what did we do yesterday? Which lesson were we studying? Okay, these things are very frequently heard among the teachers. Okay, and to say that, Ruhi, I am quite impressed with life. I have seen, in fact, your documentations and your website. I have visited various documents of yours, and I'm highly impressed with the way you have structured, the way it should be done in the class. Okay, the learning outcomes clearly earmarked. Okay, once the learning outcomes are not earmarked and the specific standardized statements is not made by the teacher and enters the class, then what are they going to transact exactly in the class, right? They do not know the purpose. There might be a lot of hangama going on in the class. Literally, they might go with a bag full of teaching aids and other resource materials, but they do not have the goal in the end. They do not have that in the mind. So that way, I was quite impressed with your structure, that you had beautifully framed your, the learning outcomes and the process. The process is more, in fact, more important than the end. Than the product, I would say the entire process, the learning experience is more important for the child. So in that itself, they learn during the whole entire process of the learning teaching process. Okay, they learn a lot. Their experience is of paramount importance. And then there is also these assessments that come in. So assessments, how are they done? Just for the namesake, they do it. So I like the way you had given the assessment structure, various strategies for assessment too. I think we also follow literally the same way. The learning cycle is absolutely in place. But then, having said that it is in place, again, I would reserve my statement
It's
to
about, it's about using
individuals. It's about the
commitment.
individual's commitment, their motivation, and their professionalism. Okay, only when the passion meets profession, I would say when the passion meets profession, there will be perfection. Otherwise, nothing is going to
Otherwise,
work right.
I think that works for all kinds of careers. That
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All
that
kinds
children
of
come from when
work.
they grow
Okay.
up. I think
Yeah.
this is
So
going to
there
be
is
another.
absolutely no need to simplify this document. Documents is in place and it is absolutely fine. They can read, but they need to frequently visit and revise it if at all they have any doubt. There's no need for any simplification. Only a little bit of orientation is required. That's what, in my opinion, I feel. You cannot do something with Bible. You cannot do something with Gita. You cannot meddle with things like that. And I feel Nipun Bharat, I would relate it
Is
to a
something like that.
document like that.
Okay, it is
Yes.
a document to be.
Yes, absolutely. You cannot dilute anything of this nature. Okay. That's what I mean.
It is perfection of education. I think I would
Absolutely.
like to, it is
Absolutely.
perfection of education. It is the beginning step to
Yes.
perfection of education. And
Yes.
on that note, I move on to Dr. Vats. Thank you so much, Nagalakshmi ma'am. I think there has been a lot to talk about. We'll be having more conversations. And thank you so much for bringing life into light during this conversation. Yes, we have worked a lot behind it. Anybody else who wants to get in touch with us can always use our website and get in touch with us on the same. Dr. Vats, as we've been talking about so many aspects when it comes to teacher training, or whether it's coming with the role of the community coming together, don't you think there has to be a teacher support where we first begin with the school and its, physical design and structure, because the kind of population that we are talking about, many of the places don't even have a physical structure. So how is that really described in the Nipun Bharat, and how is it going to be applied, or what would be the best ways of doing it?
So, where you very rightly said that the school structure, of course, it is important. But I think what is more important is, as Nagalakshmi ji also said, is what is the process that's going to happen between the children and the teachers. Because India is a very diverse country. You will have Anganwadis in the remotest parts. Like we have schools in Nandurbar, which is in Maharashtra, which is a very remote area where you have children coming from tribals, you cannot expect in such localities for a good physical structure. Sometimes you may have to use indigenous material which is available there to ensure that children learn best.
Yes.
Also, we have to adapt our curriculum based on the children that we have in our classroom. For example, we did a project in the Northeast, and in Northeast, the children work in fields and they work quite at a very early age. And these children are very, very good with their fingers and hands. Even 3-year-olds are very good with their fine motor development. Now you can't do fine motor development activities with them just because it's in your
Yes.
curriculum,
Yeah.
because these children are already good at it. So you will have to ensure that it's the teacher, basically, I feel, who's the be all and end all of any education program. You may have good walls or IT or whatever you have, but if the teacher doesn't know how to use all this, then your physical structure, your toys, your equipment all go for a toss, because children are not going to learn from that. Children are going to learn from the interaction that they have between the teacher and the child, and the interaction that they have between children in the classroom. And that is where, again, the teacher becomes the supreme importance. And that's why I stressed in my first comment also that Nipun, in a way, is like a teacher training document. So whatever the teachers may miss out, Nipun is here to fulfill it. And Nipun is giving them ideas about how to use different things to teach the same concepts in various ways. Because if you notice, one of the other goals of the NEP is experiential learning. So we must ensure that what we teach our children is hands-on. They are able to use their, as Mahatma Gandhi said, the 3H, the head, the heart, and the hand. It has to be involved in education right from the early years. So it becomes very, very important that Nipun is not just a document. Nipun, as Nagalakshmi ji also said, is a way of life now for teachers. It should become the way they talk, the way they implement, and the way they relate to children. So it may look like an exhaustive document, but I think if you read one chapter at a time, and imbibe it. And the best way I did it with my teachers is I asked them to read one chapter, and then we had a discussion on it. So everybody comes to know their viewpoints of the other, everybody comes to know where they stand. And in the discussion is where the growth happens, because misconceptions can be solved, ideas can be worked on. So it is very important that discussions like the one that you are having today, there should be more of these around the country if we want that awareness to come about the importance of this document. And very, very important is, it's no point just talking to educators about Nipun. We also have to talk to parents about Nipun, because parents should know what to expect from schools now. Because if parents are not educated about Nipun, then you will always be in this rut of formal learning, because parents expect that from a school, whereas Nipun is saying play-based learning. So it is very, very important that parents also must be educated. And I would urge life to also have sessions for parents, because if parents have an understanding of Nipun, it will make it easier for teachers to implement Nipun. So I think that is what is the goal. For me, a school structure is not about its walls or its furniture. For me, the school structure is about the teacher, the parent, and the child. And what can we do to strengthen and blossom this relationship between the three?
What a wonderful note, ma'am. You always give me goosebumps. Thank you. So,
Ruhi, I will have to leave because I have another session. I would have loved to stay
ma'am,
till
no
the end.
problem.
Previously, we thought it's cancelled, but I think there was a miscommunication. So I will
Okay.
have to take your leave and I'll have to leave.
So,
Nagalakshmi ji, it was such a pleasure to hear your thoughts. And Bhavanishankar ji, really, I learned a lot from both your inputs today. Thank you so much, Ruhi and Life, for
thank you,
inviting
ma'am.
me. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much. So yes, ma'am has put in a lot of input with a lot of things. Although I was about to ask ma'am another question, but I think I can move it on to Nagalakshmi ma'am, because what do you think? I mean, I know she spoke a lot about the teachers and parents being the pillars. As much as we want, agree with her 200% over the fact that yes, school is not made with the walls that there is, or the benches and the structures that are there inside. It is all about how we teach them. I can even teach them under a tree for all but it has to be somewhere where knowledge is the priority at that point of time, which is being inculcated into the children. But yes, the entire document also does talk about where there is an infrastructure which is important. Why? Because there has to be a place of knowledge where they are going. We're not talking about the structure as in outside, but how far do you think the term baby proofing has become a big jargon nowadays, like you should baby proof the room and all of those things. But how far do you think this is important? Do you think baby proofing as a word should be used amongst the communities? Because I did hear a lot of buzz with this thing. Nipun Bharat has come. So if the school is being made, it has to have a baby proofing structure. Do you believe in it? Is it going to be a part of a plan? Because we do have comments coming in. Yes, baby proofing is very important. Baby proofing is a part of it. If you see the comments, we do have some. Manas, can you please unmute Nagalakshmi ma'am? Yes.
Actually, do only the academic part. I think Bhavanishankar will throw more light on this.
Yes,
Being
sir.
an administrator, himself,
Oh.
I think, completely in charge of the school.
Yes.
I think he is the better person to who can answer this question.
No, ma'am, the question was for both of you.
For both.
Any one of you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, because y'all are heads of schools, and you do look into these aspects. So yeah.
Ruhi, to an extent, I would say it is important that we take enough steps to ensure that the environment is safe. But I would not want that decision to be guided by anxiety than by common sense. So, see, the child it's okay for a child to fall down, get a scratch. So, understand that injuries happen. It is all right for a child to pick up a fight and maybe have another child scratch. Although it is unwelcome, these things do happen at school. And there is no mechanism that can put an absolute arrest to.
Yes, that's the whole idea. Because
when I say that, it's also very, very important that I understand that all measures need to be taken to ensure that the child is safe. So if we will have to balance these two, and I would say, dear parents, let anxiety not rule reason. So, and I would tell the schools, guys, so we need to make the right kind of investments, say, not only in the physical spaces, but also in our heads and hearts, so that the space become more and more child conducive. The child needs to love every minute of his schooling time. And I would say that if you are doing that, if the child is a happy child, the child falls down, gets injured, gets up, laughs,
that's
and moves.
okay. I think that's okay.
These are things I would say are absolutely essential for me, as a school leader, one that looks at making the environment safe.
So I'll take you to the next question directly, since you are the one who's the absolute pro to this. And what about the academic structure and the role of state, district, and the NAS, all of these aspects have been mentioned in the Nipun Bharat structure. So there are surveys, and there is the monitoring structure which is going to come in. So what are your thoughts, and what is going to be, what are the pointers which have mainly been, highlighted in the particular policy? If you could just throw some light on that, and then we can move on to the intricacies.
I would say all of this is possible if I have a moral compass, and that compass guides me to do the things right. The policymakers, say the governments, the districts, the different kinds of surveys that have been taken up at the national level. So possibly the NAS or the PISA, which was that also happened as a school leaving skills determination estimate. All of this gives the school a broad framework to understand what does a particular outcome demand at a particular time. So if you're talking at the national level achievement surveys, it talks about all the states together and looks at literacy, numeracy, and possibly some aspects of science at grade 3, grade 5, grade 8 levels. What actually the survey tells us is a broad outline of where we stand as a country, where we stand as a community in trying to look at ourselves and reflect on what is needed in order to move forward in the aspects of expected outcomes. On a scale of 100 to 400, say we pat our back and say that we are at the 50th percentile, maybe around all the states score around 250 to 260 as an average across the subjects. It doesn't talk much about, say, our willingness to move forward. See, the document and the proposal through Nipun, say, tries to move this around, make sure that we are well trained to take on this particular load. I would connect, see, all these efforts. The policymakers make these policies in order that, see, the educational governance, the education departments and schools in particular, take on this dream and make a conversion. What I would say that the policymakers or the states or the districts need to do is to ensure that the purpose with which a policy is driven is taken in letter and spirit. I would accept what Lakshmi said, what Dr. Vats said. So it is why you do what you do and how you do what you do that determines the quality outcome. With respect to surveys, I'm sorry, I have not gotten a survey that talks about statistics that is not skewed. So significant differences exist across.
I agree. I think we
states.
and both agree to this. We totally agree to this, sir. I think that's a very good point that has come forward.
Absolutely.
See, for me, I would say that my achievement levels could be really, really big because, see, the expectations that I set for is not limited by finances. It is not limited by quality teachers. It is not limited by, say, willingness to move forward. But look at a school which is struggling to get the right kind of resources. That's where what you said makes a lot of sense. So what Lakshmi says makes a lot of sense. I would say that I need to reach out to these community schools which do not have certain privileges, which do not have certain access. I need to say that, come children, see, we are one big body. Take them in, make sure that the opportunities that exist for my school children are also made available to the children in the community who sadly are underprivileged, not because of what they can learn, it's because the kind of opportunities that are made available to them. I would like that the effort from the state and the district moves towards collaboration, sharing, caring, empathy, and making sure that
coming back in. Yes, we have to work on morals.
Exactly. I completely agree with him regarding this skewed statistics and data. I have witnessed in my career a lot of manipulations. Who is going to come and do the check? Who is there to do the check? Right, whether it is at the state level, survey done, or at the national level, survey done, it is only a paper that is going there ultimately. How many are coming into walking into the doors and actually doing a check? Okay, whether it is true, it is genuine, it is validated by somebody very authentic person is there and holding responsibility for the result that is being sent. Point number one. And point number two, as stated by Bhavani, is opening the doors to the less privileged. Okay, giving the same amount of opportune time. Opportune time is very important. Okay, I'm privileged, I get enough of opportunity time, but I'm less privileged, I don't have the opportunities, nor the resources, nor the backup, and then they're left. Okay, in the middle of the road. That is one thing. And another thing that I would also continue and add on to what Bhavanishankar said is about the safety. You were asking about the safety of the children, the school structure and all that. It's not just with the normal children, it is about all children with special needs also. We just don't ensure that, okay, these people are coming into the class, they are safe and secure, they are happy. It is not limited to that. Okay, we also have to ensure That goes the same with the children with special needs. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and that also, it's not enough if you build ramps or if you have Western toilets, which is not there in many of the schools for the children,
Yes.
believe me.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so where they cannot use Indian kind of washrooms and all that, it doesn't suffice, right? What is also important is that they get equitable opportunities. The opportunities is what is important. Okay, at the end of the day, any child with special need has to perform the same activity later on in life as a other child
As
does.
an adult.
Okay,
Yeah.
so both have the same kind of challenges in life. Challenges do not get minimized for a child with special needs,
Special needs,
right?
yeah.
So they have to face. So that is where we are talking about when we talk about the entire school structure. It is nothing just to do with just physical.
Physical
It is
work.
all, yes, entire. Okay, the building, the resources that we give, plus the opportune time that we give. So everything is linked.
Yeah, everything is interconnected. I
Yes,
totally
absolutely,
agree.
absolutely.
So,
And
making
I am very happy again that on this note, because I have been going through, when I got this chance, I've been going through your web pages. And Dr.
okay.
Vats also said that you have to give enough trainings, okay, and bring
Yes.
awareness among the parents. And I'm happy that you're doing
Yes.
it. And right now we are a part of this session of yours. So this is a kind of awareness that you're creating among the teachers, among the community, okay, and to the parents. So you
Yes.
can have, okay, other exclusively for parents, perhaps, Ruhi, and rope in only the school
Thank
heads,
you.
perhaps some other time. And
Yes.
okay,
There'll
categorize
be
your
certain
audience.
proper
Categorize your
target
audience, and you can,
audiences.
because the address, okay, the needs that are required for each category is different. For the
Yes.
heads of institution, it may be different.
Very
For the
different.
parents, you need to have a different kind of address. So
Yes.
I think this is
It
very
is going to
important
be in the
that you
coming
connect.
sessions with
You
time.
connect to parents is also very important.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I really appreciate
And you
it.
have been
Going through
giving it to your teachers. I have seen you have in-house, like you are training programs. You have, I think, homeschooling also is there with
Yes,
you.
we have.
Yeah,
We do
you
have
have
homeschooling as
homeschooling.
well.
You are doing a lot of assistance. So great job, Ruhi.
Thank you
Well
so
done.
much.
Keep it up. And I would like to get be associated with you more and more.
Oh, please, you're more than welcome. We're very happy to do that. And I mean, just to, to make a crux out of whatever we had as a talk, before I do that also, I would like to just pinpoint something that Dr. Bhavanishankar said, that, policymakers, they make the document. See, their work is to make the document. That is where my question had come up, whether we simplify the document, because the teachers have a different kind of comprehension in themselves. Every teacher is different. Every teacher comes from a different kind of a community. Where we have worked, I mean, we have worked with orphanages and other places, also our orphan schools with girls. There have been teachers who do not comprehend a particular a particular paragraph or particular chapter. So that is where life came in. As I think, Manas, you can put up a link which is there, where we have simplified the document as a policy, which is there, so that we give them examples when you read a particular aspect, or a particular, like if there is an oral translation, or you have to understand what phonics are, or so on and so forth. Whatever Nipun Bharat has done, we've given it an example, so that a teacher can actually understand. I would, Manas, would you please mind not sharing the screen? I just want you to share the link in the chat box for everyone to access it. Or maybe you can put in a link where they can send us their details, and then we can send them a structure to understand. So we have simplified Nipun Bharat in a particular module where teachers can understand this. That is where, sir, your point got to me, because teacher comprehension does play a big role before it even reaches the students. I hope you both agree with me. This is where my pointers come in, over the fact that our teachers really require that particular help. And so totally agree to the fact that Nipun Bharat is a teacher training document. that is where it really agrees to the whole, when we put the whole crux together saying that it is a teacher training document, it truly is. Because that is where the teacher is going to move forward, understand this whole aspect, and then spread it out to her students. So that is when the spread is going to be higher. And bringing the crux together to the entire conversations, that all of the conversations that we had, right from teacher training to a home language, which is very important. We shouldn't be scared of our languages, where language isn't a barrier, where we also spoke about how it is important to make sure that special school students are not bifurcated or differentiated with each other, because they all are children in the end. They all should be one, whether it is a document or a policy for the nation. We can't forget these children as well. And also with the fact that different kinds of surveys are they need an update, where sir was very clear about it, and he has really put up a light as to how yeah, moral values are a very important, play a very important role if we are to move on forward from here. So it has been a really big pleasure speaking to all of the three wonderful speakers today on this particular webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Manas, I think you can also put up our website on the chat window. We will also put it up on the Facebook link page so that you all can access it anytime that you all want. All of those who are asking a lot of questions, and whoever wants to access our programs. Thank you so much, Bhavanishankar sir. Thank you so much, Nagalakshmi ma'am, and of course Dr. Vats. She isn't here, but thank you so much for being with us on our first webinar and honoring us with your presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will some other time, very soon.
Thank you, Bhavanishankar, and thank you, Ruhi, for having me in. And I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm sure that it is an eye-opener for first-timers here who have never heard about Nipun Bharat or NEP 2020.
Yes.
I am sure about it, because there are some
Yes.
parents also sitting here. It's
Yeah,
not
I
just
think
teachers.
so.
It's not just teachers right here. So hopefully we'll be able to reach out to more and more parents and bring in awareness among the complete or the whole society.
Yes. I
So
think
unless
we will put up another webinar which will be specific to parents, so that we can really break down all of the aspects and make them understand what they can expect out of Nipun Bharat, what it truly means.
exactly.
Thank
So
you.
there are a lot
Thank
of
you,
things
Ruhi.
that have kindled a lot of thought
Yeah,
process by Bhavanishankar and Vats as well.
yeah.
So
It's
thank
been
you
wonderful. It's been wonderful
again.
connecting with you,
So
sir.
thank you so much. See, the engagement gives us a great opportunity to learn. So that is
Yeah.
something which is very important. So, and it reinforces some of your thoughts which you're not sure of, right? So
Yeah, true.
another thing that helps. Lakshmi goes ahead and agrees on this point. Dr. Watts agrees on. At least I have two people on my side to talk about. So what happens is that this brings out the energy, and I saw a lot of questions pop out.
Yes, a lot of questions have come in. Yes.
Very interesting questions. Some of the questions I've just recorded. Um,
Mhm.
See, some anxious, some very deep thoughts. So these are interesting discussions. I think we should take it up.
So we are going to be
If
saving
we
these
can curate
questions.
all these questions and post it on your website for
Yes.
the benefit of
We are going to
everybody.
we are going to curate all of these, and maybe a few of them also have enough thought that we can have a talk on it.
So it would
So
be really nice. And thank you so much for this opportunity. So it has been great learning for all of us.
yes, thank you so much. We'll be staying. If y'all can leave, we'll be staying back for a moment so that we can curate everything else. Thank you so much, everybody who has joined us. It's been a wonderful webinar, and we'll be back very soon with a new topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.